Tonight we're trying a Chinon. Chinon is a French appellation located in the Loire Valley, northwestern France. It's around about the central part of the Loire, near the town of Tours, and it's made from 90% Cabernet Franc, and they allow up to 10% of Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's basically a Cabernet Franc based wine. Light red kind of style, from a cool climate. This particular bottle is Bernard Baudry's Le Grezeaux, and it's a 2012 vintage. 2012 was pretty cool and a bit wet, I think, in the Loire Valley generally, and for that reason I think probably people who are more familiar with or like New World style, riper style wines maybe wouldn't like this kind of thing, but 2012 in the Loire for me is fantastic because it's reasonably underripe. You get a lot of the kind of undergrowthy, earthy, sour kind of fruited flavours on these wines in poorer vintages or cooler vintages. So let's give it a try. Classic nose for Chinon or Loire Cabernet Franc in general. The red berries, it's like red currant, like underripe blackberry, like when they're red. Some, you might even say a tiny bit of cherry there as well. There's also some woodsiness, but it's not overtly oaky. It's more like wood in a forest, or in kind of undergrowth, shrubby. Fair bit of kind of European undergrowth there. Serving it reasonably cool. And you don't want to serve them too warm. Earth there as well. If you get lucky, in my opinion, and particularly with Baudry's wines, you can often get a little animal funk on these as well. Just a little hint of like the cow hide, or maybe even some shit if you get really lucky. This one is from gravelly soils, 40 to 60 year old vines. It's hand harvested, fermented in concrete vats for 3 to 4 weeks, and then it's stored in old oak, like 5 years or older, large format fût and barrels, and for about a year before it gets bottled. It's light, refreshing, good acidity. The acid just drives through the palate. Grippy tannins, grainy, gritty, astringent. All those flavours on the nose come through on the palate too. Slightly darker fruit maybe on the palate as well, I think. Maybe getting into some darker blackberry. Sometimes you can find a bit of blackcurrant, although on this one I don't particularly. They're just a beautiful style of red if you like non-ripe fruit flavoured, non-fruity styles of red. Earthy, undergrowthy, mushroomy, animally, vegetation, vegetables. Often they even smell like, to me, like celery, or like stews, like beef and celery in a stew. You get these kind of characters on them. And really light, easy to drink. I mean, great with a stew actually. They're pretty nice. So yeah, if you want to try something different, a lighter style French red that is very different from modern styles of winemaking. Easy on the oak, not very ripe on the fruit, and very easy to drink, try a Chinon. They're just delicious. So easy. Bernard Baudry is one of the best producers in the appellation. If you can't find a Chinon in particular, you could try another Cabernet Franc dominant wine from the Loire, like a Saumur Champigny or a Baudry. And yeah, if you can find Baudry's, he's very good. They're very good wines. So, Loire Cabernet Franc, Chinon in particular, give it a go.
I agree on the palate. I think some of the flavours that come across are slightly darker than what you get on the nose. I think I get maybe a little bit of coffee, like black coffee grounds.
Yeah, I get that too.
It's part of the tannins.
It's like the Maillard kind of flavour you get on meats that are really like blackened, or coffee that's been really roasted and dark. Yeah, exactly.
Do you get any funk on this one?
Not a huge amount on this one in particular. As I said, there's a tiny bit of the it's edging on the cow maybe, but it's not much there.
I think I get a little bit of funk, but it's more a vegetation funk, which could be a very grass-heavy, sloppy cow poo, but it's more like funked up
rotting
vegetables
and rotting grass or something.
Or capsicum scraps.
Yeah, actually, it does have a bit of capsicum on it as well. They often do. It's got Cabernet character.
Price point in Australia, at least, for these ones or other, exported Chinons in general.
Yeah, this one, the Grezeaux, is one of his kind of not the top, but higher end labels. Actually, I really like his lower end stuff. Sometimes even more than his higher end stuff, depending on the vintage. But this one retails in Australia for in the 40s. You can easily get it significantly cheaper in other export markets, let alone France. So it's really a bargain. They're really, really good value wines. I think they're just under the radar. They're not very appreciated, particularly because of that style. It's not generous, and so people don't, it's not as easy perhaps to appreciate. In fact, I really didn't used to like them many years ago, and in fact the kind of 90s vintages were really quite green, like aromatically really like smelling sap and twigs and really earthy and hardly any fruit to speak of at all. Very herbaceous, grassy, capsicum-y to the max. And they've actually ripened up a little bit since then, but not so much that they're really quite ripe or fruit forward or anything like that. So yeah,
sweet spot.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot. Yeah, for me.
Are there any other markets in the New World that are growing Cab Franc and like bigger areas? And can they get those sorts of qualities, or are they just not achieving it?
I don't think they're achieving it. So they're too ripe. They're picked too late.
So North America, is there any sort of particular regions there, or in Australia, or?
There are. It's very well. There aren't many that are really hot on Cabernet Franc. You don't see it very often. Yeah, but it's always quite ripe. So it is more fruit forward, and then you don't get all of those other interesting characters necessarily as much. In the New World, they often have a more floral expression, which I think is quite nice. Chinons can have that too, but Loire Cab Francs in general. But like a bit rose petal like. Or violets, like Parma violets. So the New World ones, I'm not saying they're bad, they just have a different character. But what I like about Loire Cab Franc is that less ripe character. It's the fact that it is far more savoury. So the New World doesn't do that for me. But if you like something that is more acid driven, you know, is going to give you some different kind of aromatic profile in Cabernets, I suppose, but is a bit less punchy, less still tannic, but maybe not as full bodied as a Cabernet Sauvignon, then it's also Cab Franc is also a good option. Yeah, if you can find one, they're out there.
What kind of alcohol is this sitting at, or what do they tend to sit at?
They're typically around 12 to 13, so they're very attractive as a lighter style, you know, not too alcoholic. This one, it's labelled as 12.5, so yeah. Given that in France, you really legally you have to be within 0.5%, you know, exactly. It's somewhere between 12 and 13 for sure, legally.
What kind of temperature might you serve it at for this
I
style?
personally would serve it at somewhere between probably 16 and 18 Celsius. I wouldn't want to go much warmer than that.
Is this almost something a little bit like the iron there as well, like cooked off iron from blood?
Yeah, they're often like that. Have a sanguineous quality to them, or that iron filings, or
Rust.
yeah, exactly. Really, that's the kind of character I love in them. I think it depends what you like. The more boring ones to me, they're just the fruit with a bit of herbaceousness to them. But the more interesting wines, they have a bit of animal, or they're really earthy, or they've got interesting vegetation kind of aromas, or they've got that sanguineous iron kind of character to them, or they show a bit of mushroom, or
Is 2012 the current release
No.
in Australia? That's got a few years on it.
Or you can still buy it retail in Australia, I think, because it's not a very popular vintage. Because it wasn't very ripe.
And therefore, is that a little cheaper than you typically get, or they tend to still
No,
be
they tend
in
to
the
stick
40s?
around the same price. I mean, they don't actually vary too much in price from vintage to vintage. There is some slight variation, but you know, within like $5 or something, it's not huge. So, yeah, it's really a bargain, in my opinion. If you can kind of get into that style, or if you're there already, something that's lighter, a red that's lighter and is less fruit forward, then they're a great bargain. Yeah. So, Cabernet Franc. Best Cabernet Franc, in my opinion, in the world comes from the Loire Valley. Try a Chinon, Bernard Baudry, 2012. If you like less ripe stuff, Le Grezeaux. Give it a go.